Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 5 on Racing Show live from New York. Kind of crazy weather here up in the Northeast. I know we had some freezing cold, and the next day 70s, and then the storm that we had this morning with the lightning, flooding. It's just crazy weather. It's like the end of the world. But anyway, welcome. Hope everybody had a good week. I know I did. I normally do. So tonight we're going to take a look back on the career of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion, former champion, Dale Jarrett, who was one of my favorite Cup drivers of all time. And as we get into his career, maybe you guys and gals will be able to figure out why. We're also going to talk about Tony Stewart settled with that lawsuit. We're going to talk about that. We have some NASCAR news, some changes to the NASCAR All-Star race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We have the K&N results, the XFinity results, and the Cup results, which just ended a little while ago, from the Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. There's this very special birthday that I want to put out there, and as I talk about it, you'll see the whys. I'm going to talk about yet another Ted Christopher Award or bonus payout that is going on from a generous member of our racing community. And then we'll have our normal chat, and we'll go from there. So anyway, welcome everybody. And I want to get right into Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett, like I said, he's one of my favorite Monster Energy NASCAR Cup drivers in my lifetime. And I've been following Cup racing for over 50 years. I driving out to the studio tonight, I said, how long have I been watching Cup races? And albeit back in the day on the ABC's Wide World of Sports, they had a 90-minute show and maybe showed 30 minutes of the races that they covered. And looking back, who's not to like? Who couldn't like Richard Petty? He was winning a third of the races every season, always running up front. I saw him race personally at the Islip Speedway on Long Island, and he became my guy. And over the years, his drivers became my guy. But then we have Dale Jarrett. Now, Dale Jarrett, we're going to start with our little opening before I get into Dale. Dale Jarrett, born November 26, 1956 in Conover, North Carolina, the middle child of Ned and Martha Jarrett. Dale's father, Ned, was in the NASCAR Top Series, and there's a picture of me and Dale Jarrett. I believe that we got that picture at Martinsville a few years back. But Ned Jarrett was a two-time Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion, involved in the Cup Series from 1953 to 1966, and leaving the sport due to trying to help his friend out of a burning race car. And the man died of his injuries a few weeks later, and Ned Jarrett was never the same and really never raced again competitively. But anyway, Dale Jarrett, his son, following in his dad's footsteps. Dale attended many of his father's races throughout the South as he was growing up. And Jarrett also was an avid golfer at the age of 12. He also played high school football, basketball, and baseball in high school. And his golfing helped lead his high school team to 3 conference championships. and he was named the high school's Athlete of the Year upon graduation from high school. Jarrett worked at the Hickory Motor Speedway upon his graduation from high school, and it was a track in North Carolina that was managed by his dad, Ned. He also was offered a full-time scholarship to play golf at the University of South Carolina, which he turned down because he wanted to be involved with racing. 1977 saw Jarrett in his first professional stock car race at the Hickory Motor Speedway in South Carolina, driving a limited sportsman car and finishing 6th in the points that season. In 1884, Jarrett secured sponsorship for his Busch Grand National team, now known as the XFinity Series, from Econolodge, Valvoline, and Budweiser. Jarrett made the Cup debut in 1984 at the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia, and in 1990 and 91, his best years in the Busch Series, now XFinity, running in the top 5 most nights, and a true spokesman for the sport. 1990 had Jarrett watching as the Cup season started until he took over the driving of the Wood Brothers number 21, replacing the injured Neil Bonnet. Jarrett left the Wood Brothers to drive for Joe Gibbs at the number 18 car in 1992. He then won the 1993 Daytona 500, battling Dale Earnhardt Sr. lap after lap in a race that's been dubbed the Dale and Dale Show. I can remember watching that event on TV, and the cameras switched to Dale's mom, Dale Jarrett's mom, Martha, as Ned Jarrett was announcing, and it was a family affair. And there's a picture of a father-son pose after a win, and that's all they took. The camera people almost missed the checker flag coming to the line. In 1995, Jarrett moved over to Robert Yates Racing, driving car number 28, replacing Ernie Irvin, who suffered a head trauma at the Michigan Speedway, and moved into the 88 Robert Yates Racing car with Quality Care and Ford Credit as sponsors. 1996 saw Jarrett finish second, or get his second Daytona 500 victory. 1998, Jarrett left the XFinity Series, which he had run in since his start in the top series. He ran an XFinity team with a car driven by his son Jason, upon his stepping down from the XFinity, with a partner, and that partner being the NFL's great quarterback, Brett Favre. In 1999, he won his third Daytona 500, and UPS came on board as Ford dropped their sponsorship. Jarrett became part of UPS's marketing plan to drive the truck and was in many of the UPS commercials that were on TV for sporting events and some national events that UPS wanted to get their word out. Up until then, UPS commercials on TV were almost void. They didn't advertise on TV. But they saw a good marketing plan here, and Dale Jarrett was a good marketing spokesman. Now, I met Dale Jarrett not only at assorted racetracks, but Dale Jarrett came to my office, and back, I'm going to say, oh, maybe back around, I don't know, 1990, 2000, something around there. In that scheme, I was at UPS 25 years, and I just tried to put the years together. But he came to our office, and I remember I brought my family, brought my girls, and Dale Jarrett took the time to sit with each person. And it was his birthday the day he was in UPS. It was a November day. And UPS went out and had a sheet cake made and a happy birthday, and we all sang happy birthday. And the guy got emotional. He got emotional. And I guess when you're traveling and it's your birthday and you're not with your family and your loved ones, and then a company that you represent remembers your birthday and does a nice thing with it, you know, you get all choked up, and he did. And I remember at the end of the day, he was there from 5 in the morning. He flew in on his plane that he flew, and he landed at Republic Airfield over in Farmingdale, and he was picked up. And at the end of the day, there was a luncheon and a dinner and drinks and all kinds of good stuff, autograph signing. And we had to take Dale back to the airport to his plane. And we're sitting in the car. I'm sitting in the back. My manager's driving, and my manager goes, "Hi, Dale, where's your plane?" He goes, "Well, this place looks different at night. I don't know." So we got permission to drive around. There was no big, scary thing going on back then, and until he found his plane, and it had number 88 in the tail for his number, so that was his plane. He got up and flew away. It was a good time. And, you know, Dale Jarrett was a professional. He was good to the fans, good to his sponsors. And at Dale Jarrett's last race, he addressed the drivers at the drivers' meeting. And he said, "Enjoy this. We all have our time in this, and mine has been fantastic. To me, it has been an honor and a privilege to be able to race in this series. And I say I raced against and sometimes beat the best in the world. Thanks for allowing me to do that. Enjoy it. It's a great sport, and you guys make it what it is." He walked off the stage or the podium with tears in his eyes that day, like any individual who's been at a job for 20, 25 years. Dale Jarrett had 24 years in the Cup Series. He had 668 starts, 32 victories. He earned over $60 million racing, and he won 1 championship. He ran the XFinity Series for 20 years, which a lot of people didn't realize, myself included. He had 309 starts there with 11 wins. In 2015, Jarrett became part of the NBC Sports broadcasting crew for NASCAR events. In 1998, he was named one of NASCAR's top 50 drivers. In 2000, he was named the best driver in the ESPY Awards. And in 2014, he was inducted as a member of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Dale Jarrett still continues, as we said, to announce races on TV for NBC Sports. He is one of those announcers who sits back and just talks about the racing. He might allude to something that needs to be explained, reaching back on his knowledge as a driver, as a crew member, and he does this in such a way, not like some of the announcers that some of us don't like, but he does it in a professional way. And Dale Jarrett, like I said, I've seen him, I've met him. I was involved with some of the NASCAR UPS dealings over the years, and he's a professional. And I'm going to share a story, and I probably said this once before. I was working in our corporate office at UPS down in Atlanta, and I remember sitting there at lunch, and there was a bunch of guys from the marketing team. And we're talking, and we got talking about racing. And I know, because a lot of people knew that I raced. Thank goodness they never came up to Long Island to watch me. But I was talking, I says, many of the Fortune 500 companies in America today have some sort of sponsorship in NASCAR. Why don't we? And one of the marketing guys, who I found out was the head of this group, he said, "That's not the clientele we want to reach out to." I looked at him. I says, "Why? What do you mean?" He goes, "Think of it." Because UPS was this hoity-toity, better-than-thou type of company, and they only wanted to deal with customers on what they called the C-level, CEO, CFO, COO, those people. And the guy says to me, "Really? A guy in coveralls wearing a beat-up baseball cap, sucking on a piece of straw or grass or a twig. Do we really want to be associated with that? And I said to him, let me tell you something. There's millions of people across America that race cars, own cars, and work on cars. They have to buy parts. How are they going to get their parts? They could use the post office, they could use our competitor FedEx, or they could use UPS. And NASCAR fans are loyal. I'm really thinking that's something that we need to get into. Now, I'm not saying I made that happen because I didn't. Robert Yates did, and Ford, because Ford had a big storage lot next to the UPS Air Hub in Louisville, Kentucky. Robert Yates was very involved with Ford. Robert Yates put this together because the person who tried to get UPS, and that's a whole nother story, blew it by sending the proposal back signed via FedEx. So Dale Jarrett, he's a great man to our sport. I totally enjoyed saying I was part of UPS when he was racing the UPS car for Robert Yates. And it was just one of those things. And like I said, Dale Jarrett, he's a gentleman. He's an intense competitor, but he's a good guy. And you look at that picture there, that's intensity, folks. That's a guy who's focused on what he does. Dale Jarrett, good man, good racer, and a good businessman. Thanks, Dale, for the memories that you gave, not only me while I was at UPS, but all the fans in NASCAR, because you made it happen. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on in NASCAR and other places when we come back.
Inravio.com.
Hey, what's
I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
welcome back. Welcome back. I want to thank everybody who's in the chat room. The chat room is looking good tonight, as well as Facebook Live. So thank you. Anyway, Tony Stewart. We all know about the incident back on August 9th, 2014, at a dirt track in Caneonga, New York. And I hope I said that right. I say it different every time, hoping one of these times I get it right. But Tony Stewart, who likes to race, went racing, and he goes all over the place. He races everything from back then cup cars to sprint cars on the dirt. And a tragic accident most of us don't know about, that a driver felt that Tony wrecked him. And the lighting at this facility on the backstretch was very, very poor. You know, it wasn't televised, so they didn't have all the TV lights on to brighten it up. And as many drivers, myself included, if you felt somebody did you dirty and you're wrecked and your car's flipped over in the fence, you know, you climb out, you know, and you wait for that guy to pass, and maybe you throw your helmet at him or a glove. And I never understood what throwing a glove at somebody is going to do, but you just want to pick up something, and I guess you don't want to take your $1,000 helmet and throw it against a race car. But this competitor did just that, and Tony didn't see him, hit him, whatever of count you want to listen to, and he was killed. Not Tony, but Ward, Kevin Ward. Well, Tony Stewart and the parents of Kevin Ward reached a settlement in the wrongful death lawsuit that the family brought against Tony Stewart, the former Monster Energy Cup champion Tony Stewart. The incident occurred on August 9, 2014 at the Caneonga Speedway in upstate New York. And the amount of the settlement is unknown, as Judge David Hurd ordered a copy of the settlement filed be sealed. And I gotta say that, I gotta say this. You know, there's a time to initiate a lawsuit, and there's a time not to. And thank God I've never lost one of my children or anybody close to me in a situation that where maybe negligence could have occurred. Tony Stewart was cleared of any criminal charges immediately after this event, because that was investigated too. Tony Stewart is also, as tough as a competitor that he is, he would never deliberately hurt somebody to the point that he'd be killed. I'm not going to get into the toxology reports of Kevin Ward. If you want to know what it was, you could Google that. And that's funny, my daughter, Jessica, who talks about coming on the show with me, that's how she wants to do the whole show. I got the results for this race, but Google it if you need to know. And I can't believe I just said that. But anyway, Google it, because I'm not gonna repeat what it was. And I don't want to make an excuse for Kevin Ward's actions on that night, because I probably would have did the same thing and have done the same thing. And I'm sure 22 Figure 8 can attest to that, who my red car many nights came off the track orange, and his orange car came off the track many nights red. You figure out how that could happen. But when you have this, when you have something like this, and yes, the family's hurting, and they're sad, and they lost their son, I have to ask this question. What amount of money is going to bring their son back? Zero. Zero. They battled this out for 4 years in the courts. I don't know if I could go to court if I was a parent in the same situation. Time after time, week after week, hearing after hearing, to talk about my son or daughter being killed at a racetrack, and I'm trying to get money for it. I'm going to walk away quietly, say it was an accident, say it was part of God's will, if you believe in that, and I do. And I'm going to walk away, because not a dollar, not $1 million, not $100 million is going to bring my kid back. And when I read stuff like that, and I call lawsuits like that frivolous. A lot of people out there might disagree with me. And this is part of what I think is the court's fault, that the courts entertain these types of lawsuits. Tony Stewart was cleared of any wrongdoing. Okay, let's move on. But Tony Stewart got tired of this. That's why he settled. And I'm sure if he would have dragged this out for a couple more years, he has bigger, more expensive lawyers than the Ward family. He could have dragged this out to the point where, goodbye, it's over. And he would have not had to pay out whatever he paid out. And I think if he had to pay out $1, it was too much. And yeah, you know, 22 fair. I was just going to say that. You know, it's the lawyers. They're dragging it out for years because, let's face it, in a lot of cases, the lawyers get a third. They get a third. And so, all right, you know, so Tony Stewart, I'm sure, said, we're going to give you XYZ dollars. And the lawyer says, oh, I'm only going to get X out of the YZ. Let's keep going. Let's get 5 times XYZ, so I get 5 times X. I'm talking a little algebra here, which I never understood and still don't. And when I see stuff like that, I get very upset. And to the point where I'm like, you know, I should have stayed in law school. I should have stayed. Because when people would have came, I would have been the poorest lawyer in town because the people would come in, I want to sue this person. What are you going to gain from it? I'm going to gain money. Going to get your kid back? No. I'm going to go buy a new kid? No, and let's not do this. I don't mean to laugh, but it's just one of the things that bothers me, the nuances of life, you know, and especially in racing. Every day, night, afternoon, that we as race car drivers strap into a race car, and there's some of you out there in the chat room, and there's some of you on Facebook Live, we understand the dangers of racing. We understand that stuff happens and it happens quick. We understand as race car drivers that you're gonna lose your temper sometimes, and mine when I was racing was the worst. I was walked out of more racetracks than I care to imagine. Sometimes with guys with guns and badges, sometimes with just the track security, and sometimes with a family member who cared enough about me didn't want me getting any more trouble than I already was in. But when you look at that, you go back and you're like, what are we doing here? Let's just move on. Let's just move on. And you know, it's the lawyers. It's all about the money. The frivolous lawsuits that are thrown into the courts time and time again. It's not good. Not good, folks. And just my opinion, I know maybe there's some people that may disagree with that, but I don't know. That's how I see it. That's how I feel. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad that they didn't have to do that. Tony Stewart and his lawyers made a deal with the Ward family, their lawyers. Let's stop this hearing stuff. The cost for us to go to upstate New York for these things is taking its toll. Forget about the time. That you never get back. But I'm glad it's settled, and I hope the Ward family could take this money and stare at it and maybe pile it up next to a picture of their kid, because that's how I feel about this, and that's how adamant and how upset I am that an accident, they made money off an accident. Anyway, let's talk about some other NASCAR stuff. Maybe good stuff. Anyway, here we go. The NASCAR 2018 All-Star Race will be held May 19th at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And there'll be some significant changes for this All-Star event in the way of rules. And one of those things is the engine restrictor plates will be put on the cars or the motors to reduce horsepower. A 1.5-mile track, we're going to reduce the horsepower. And other changes include a revised dynamic feature. What is that? Cars will be required to use a splitter, which was in the 2014 rulebook, and a 2018 radiator pan. Now, some people say it's a radiator. I call it a radiator, tomato, tomato. You know what I'm talking about. They want to have a 6-inch taller spoiler with 2 ear extensions measuring 12 inches tall. And there'll be manufacturer-specific air ducts to take away some of the aerodynamics. Folks, I've been around NASCAR for a long time. I was a race director. I was a tech official. I was an undercarriage specialist. And this is just a test, this race, with all these changes, because NASCAR needs to slow the cars down. They think they're going too fast. And they think by putting a restrictor plate on the cars, they're going to slow them down, and change the downforce that's going to slow them down, and put these little things on the spoiler that are kind of direct air in a different direction than they're accustomed to, so that the guy behind them isn't going to just stay on his bumper and draft. So this is a test. And what better way to have a test is in a race instead of having a test at some racetrack. And Jay Slice, my good buddy, Brian France and NASCAR officials, please report to the drug testing office with this idea. Jay Slice, I'll tell you what, I looked at that and I was like, what? It's an exhibition race. It's $1 million to win. Let's go at it. Check the safety stuff. Check the helmet and the shoes and the gloves and the suit and the window net and the shifter boot and the seat in the roll cage. Who cares what they're doing? It's a non-points race. It's a bragging rights race, and you gotta love it. You gotta love it. And before we go to break, I just want a couple more NASCAR notes. Alan Gustafson has been suspended for 2 weeks by NASCAR due to Chase Elliott's car was found to have rear window which did not remain rigid during the recent race at the Texas Motor Speedway. I won't even get into it. Elliott was docked 20 driver's points, and Gustafson, in addition to his 2-race suspension, was fined $50,000. And Hendrick Motorsports will not appeal the penalty. They tried something, it didn't work. Now, I think in my next lifetime, I'm going to be a crew chief in a top series. Because if they can afford a $50,000 fine, they must be making one heck of a big paycheck every week. Just saying. I mean, who pays these fines? I mean, I handed out a fine at Riverhead years ago. The biggest fine I ever handed out to a competitor for $10,000 and a 10-year suspension. Of course, NASCAR knocked it down after cooler heads prevailed, mine, on Tuesday at the competition hearing or the meeting, and we ended up being just a 2-week suspension and a $200 fine. Okay, that's more like it for a weekly series, but still, $50,000? Come on. Come on, I think that's insane. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll have some more talk about stuff. We'll have the results out of the Bristol Motor Speedway out of Tennessee, and again, a very special birthday to a good old friend of mine when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Anyway, the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series and the Xfinity Series, as well as the K&N Pro Series East, were at the Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee this past weekend. Although the Cup race was scheduled to run on Sunday, it did not get finished. It started, but it did not finish till later this afternoon. So I got the results from that as I was driving out with the left hand and looking out my windshield with the left eye. I was looking up the finish with my right hand and reading it with my right eye. And then when I got to the parking lot, because it's hard to like steer your car and work the pedals and write at the same time as you're holding like a clipboard. So I didn't want to crash on the way out, and it wouldn't have been good. So, you know, here I am now with the the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup finish, I believe. So let's take a look at that when we can. I think I have it somewhere. I do. All right. I think we have a Bristol image. So anyway, the Cup Series was at the Bristol Motor Speedway in the hills in Tennessee, and that is, we're not going to use those names, but they're from the April race, but we're going to just go over this, and here's what happened. Kyle Busch was the winner there, followed by Kyle Larson. Third was Jimmy Johnson. Fourth was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Fifth, Alex Bowman. Eric Almirola was sixth, Kevin Harvick seventh, Clint Boyer eighth, Joey Logano ninth, and Ryan Newman rounding out the top 10. In the Xfinity Series, a race that I watched a little bit of, and it looked okay, and I only watched it because Ryan Preece, a kid that I watched grow up in a modified series, was the winner there. He's part of the Dash for Cash millionaire. Ryan Preece finished first. Justin Allgaier second. Daniel Hemrick was third. Elliott Sadler finished fourth. Spencer Gallagher fifth, followed by Brandon Jones in the sixth. Tyler Reddick seventh. We have Cole Custer eighth. Ross Chaston ninth, and Ryan Truex rounding out the top 10. The K&N Pro Series East was in Bristol, and here's what we have for them. 28 cars showed up, and I'll tell you what, when I go over the finishes, we'll talk a little bit about the K&N Series. And Todd Gilliland was the winner there, followed by Harrison Burton. Noah Gragson was third from the pole. We have Taylor Ankrum fourth, Brandon McReynolds fifth, Tyler Dipple sixth, Spencer Davis seventh, Ronnie Bassett Jr. eighth, Eddie McDonald ninth, and Ruben Garcia Jr. 10th. The next event for the NASCAR K&N Pro Series will be April 28th at the Langley Speedway in Langley, Virginia. Now, when you talk about the K&N Pro Series East, years ago known as the Busch North, then it was the Busch East, then it was just the Camping World Series for one season, and now the K&N Pro Series East. There's two drivers on this list, Brandon McReynolds and Spencer Davis. Their car owners are from New York. Danny Watts from Long Island is the owner of the 82 car driven by Spencer Davis, and Brandon McReynolds drives the 74 car owned by Visconti Motorsports. And this is a series that has a lot of Cup team influence in it. Jokingly referred to as the Kids and Nephews series, K&N, because a lot of the Cup teams use this series to develop drivers. So you're a small guy from Staten Island, from Riverhead, to compete against some of these teams, you got to be good. They have a heck of a lot more money than you, a heck of a lot of more resources, And if you could finish in the top 10 racing against that, you got your stuff put together. So I congratulate, you know, these guys. Both of these car owners I know on a personal level. I know both their dads for like forever. I know Danny Watts' dad, who was in business with my former father-in-law down in Florida for years. And Brandon McReynolds, car owner, John Visconti. I remember watching his dad race, Cookie Visconti race back in Freeport back in the day. And I'll tell you what, the apple didn't fall far from the tree there, because Cookie always had immaculately prepared race cars. And I've seen John Visconti, who we affectionately call JV, in a team owned by his wife, Marie, great people. When he ran Legends, when he had crate mods, the tour mod, his equipment was immaculate. His team dressed immaculate, same as with Danny. You know, Long Island race car drivers are getting to be known again. And I said this a year ago. You know, it's no longer the Wrong Island gang as it was referred to. Wrong Island is making a difference in racing again. And Ryan Priest, even though he's not a Long Islander, when he was driving the tour model rides, his car owner, Eddie and Connie Partridge, owners of Riverhead Raceway, always supported Ryan in the tour mod, immaculately prepared race cars. They set this kid Ryan Priest up real nice, because this kid is going to be in Cup sooner than we think. And his dad, he didn't write a big check like a lot of these guys are in the Xfinity Series and Cup Series. Ryan Priest made that with pure energy, pure talent, and the type of guy that when I stuck a microphone in front of his face, he spoke like I gave him a script to talk. And I'll tell you what, I'm proud to know all three of these guys. You know, Ryan Priest and his team, the Visconti Motorsports team, as well as Danny Watts' team. So it's a good deal. And I don't normally say stuff like this, but I'm saying it today. And speaking of saying it, because I'm on a nice roll today. Those of you who know me know I'm talking tongue-in-cheek, and I could do that a little bit easier now. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, I want to wish somebody a happy birthday, and I don't normally do this, you know, unless it's my kids. And there's a gentleman who we affectionately call Boss Joe. Joe Bertuccio. I've known this man since I'm 16. I know of him since I'm 12. And I can remember when I was a kid, I was 15 years old, and snuck into the pits at ISIS Speedway, and on a race night that they had 100-car demolition derby in addition to their regular show. And the security guy grabbed me and goes, "What are you doing here?" And I pointed to Joe Bertuccio, and I said, "Oh, I'm working with him to unload, get the demo cars off the racetrack." So the security guy goes, "You stand right there." And he goes over to Boss Joe, and he says, "He with you?" And I'm doing this. And Boss Joe said, "Yeah, he's with me, leave him alone." And that started a relationship, although a racing relationship, that over the years, it was all good, you know, and you guys think I need my black hat again. And I want to share some stories of Joe Bertuccio stories. When I was the head official of Riverhead Raceway, Joe Bertuccio was the king, the god of racing. Everybody that drove for him was successful, won races, and not that he was giving special treatment, but he got the gray area calls all the time. And to me, I was taught by the late Walt Edsel, once they cross over the ramp and onto the racetrack, they're just a number, and we don't care who's driving that number. And Joe and I had, I'm telling you, our battles on the pit ramp at Riverhead Raceway were legendary. Some people, when he came up to yell at me, some people went there to hold him back. Others went up there to see who was going to kill who first. And there was a night that we had a real bad night, and I thought I was dead. I kid you not. I thought I was dead. There were calls made to my house telling my wife and kids to get out. They're going to blow it up. And I'm like, oh, man. And at the end of the night, I was walking over to the hall or our trailer where we had our stuff. And, you know, out from another trailer, here's Joe. And I'm thinking I'm going to end up in a shredder at Gershaw Recycling somewhere. And he apologized to me. He said, hey, listen, my guys told me you did the right thing, blah, blah, blah. But it didn't change week after week. Well, there was one night, one Monday, I guess, I needed a real big favor. The only person on Long Island that could help me out with this favor was Boss Joe. So I went to Gershaw. I went to his recycling yard. I said, Joe, I need a favor. If you can't help me, lead me in the right direction. What do you need? I told him. It was good as done. Good as done. I left there. I was good. And I said to him before I left, I said, Joe, I got to thank you. I came to you as a first resort, figuring it was going to be a no because we don't get along at the racetrack. And he grabbed me by the arm and he said, Joe, I'm going to teach you a lesson about racing and about life. What happens at the racetrack stays at the racetrack. And he wasn't the first person to try to teach me this. There were other people along the way. But that was big. There were nights we wanted to kill each other. There were nights that he got in my face and I'm surrounded by his crew and his supporters, and there's no way I'm getting out in one piece. You know, thank goodness cooler heads prevailed and nothing happened. But from that day forward, anytime I've needed help, advice, a sounding board, he was the guy. So happy birthday, Boss Joe. And I'm sure there's a big thank you from him. There's people in this chat room and in the Facebook Live that he's helped in their racing career. And I'm sure they all said thank you. I'm sure they all appreciate what he did. But you know what, Joe? We're going to say it here live on the 505 On. Thank you. Thank you for what you've done for racing, for all the people you've helped. And because our shows are archived and on demand forever, that birthday greeting to Boss Joe will be in the internet forever. So thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying your birthday. I hope you guys took you out. And I can remember us one time going to a race with you, and we stopped for something to eat, and a little ruckus developed. And you said to everybody, are we in this town to race or are we here to fight? Because we're here to fight. I'll take the trailer home and we can go fight all we want. So, of course, we said we're there to race. And we weren't racing. So we had some fun time. Anyway, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about another nice tribute to a real good friend of mine who passed away tragically and suddenly last year, my old good buddy Ted Christopher, when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Murphy Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're gonna punch in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Anyway, some good stuff going on, some real good stuff. We all know that the late, great Ted Christopher was a good friend of mine, and his tragic death back in August of 2013 on his way to race a NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour race at Long Island's Riverhead Raceway. We all know how that affected all of us in the racing community. And Kevin Harvick, driver out of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, has put up some monies, as we talked about a week or so ago, at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut in honor of the late, great Ted Christopher. Well, it doesn't stop there. NASCAR Wheeling Modified car owner George Bierce has posted a $500 bonus for each of the 3 NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour races at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, starting with the Napa Auto Parts Spring Sizzler, which will be held, I believe it's April 28th of this month, a couple of weeks from now. The 13th place finisher, the 13th place qualifier, and the leader on lap 13 will receive $100. The winner of the event will receive $200. So it's $1,500 that George Bierce has put up in memory of Ted Christopher. The other 2 events at the Stafford Motor Speedway will be the Starrett Tools 150 on August 3rd and the Napa Auto Parts Fall Final on September 29th. Ted Christopher is the winningest driver at the Stafford Motor Speedway, so it makes a lot of sense to do that. He has a grandstand named after him, and I remember teasing him, because friends could do that when they named a grandstand after a competitor. And I said, Teddy, don't they usually do that for guys who are dead? And he's, oh, come on, Joe, stop, don't say that. And I think back on that now, and you know what? Yeah, let's do it while the guy's alive so they can enjoy it. And now we can enjoy it. And the picture that they have him up there, and I tried to find one of it, and I just couldn't, but it was his typical pose when he got out of his race car, and it was with the big smile. I know something's in the works for the 2 tour races at the Riverhead Raceway here in Long Island in a similar fashion with Ted Christopher, but as of airtime, I don't believe it was a finalized. I know what it is, but until I hear from the source, and the source is going to be John Elwood, who kind of runs the facility for Eddie and Connie Partridge, as well as Tom Gatz here in Long Island. Once that is announced, I think we'll talk about that next week. So, but Ted Christopher, he'll always be a part of this racing community, always. And 22 figure out WJ loves Stafford. He loves Stafford. He loved freezing our butts off at Mahoning Valley too, but Stafford was his favorite place. My old buddy WJ. Anyway, just a reminder, with the plans for the anniversary show, which will be show number 350. Who would have thought? Is be in May. Kind of have it narrowed down at the 2 dates, and we're just getting with the management to firm up those dates to make sure we can make that happen on those dates. Limited number of seats will be available for the live audience. We're lining up some good guests to come that night. I know Roger Roxy from upstate New York, who's been a regular guest on the show from time to time. He is going to be here, if not for day 1 of the anniversary show, because it's a 2-show show, and we still have the discussion, does that make it show 350 and 351? Roger Oxy will talk about that when you get here. He'll be here. K&N Pro Series team owner Marie Visconti is going to drag her husband here and we'll have some fun with them, as well as some other people as well. So we'll have some fun with that. And if you'd like to be a part of that live studio audience, there is limited seating left. Let me know. And if we need to like bump somebody out for like one of our regular chat room people who support the show week in and week out, year after year, I'm sure we can make that happen as well. 350 shows. I'm getting excited about that. I thought I was only going to do this for a couple of months, and here I still am. So I guess that says something. But yeah, we'll have some fun with that, as we always do. And I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, got some racing going on this weekend. The big guys will be in Richmond. The NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour will be at Stafford, not this weekend, the weekend after. I will not be here next week, unfortunately. I am going away. I'm going to a resort to decompress, to work on a new book, and come to the fact that I just turned 60. I'm telling you right now, I'm loving it. But anyway, so next week I will not be here, so don't tune in and say, where's Joe? He's late again. The Oakdale merge is jammed up. I'm not going to be here. If there's a way I could figure out how to do it from the resort, I might. But I'm thinking after a few Jamesons and some sun and sand, I think I'll be just sitting back, decompressing. Anyway, I want to thank everybody again for being part of this show tonight. The chat room was hopping. Thank you. And the new Facebook Live, all the people that were on there, thank you for your kind comments, kind words. And for the people who reached out to me the last week, knowing that I had some minor surgery. We're not going to get into the details, but there was some of you who reached out to me, and thank you. And it's all good. Again, a happy birthday to Boss Joe. And I want everybody to have a good week. So wherever your endeavors will bring you this week, please be safe, please be careful. Give somebody a hug, tell me you love them, God bless you all, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com. Inravio.